Please take the time to go into the district13oh5.org website, go into the 20 Learn to Roar tab, click on the handout for this lesson. A PDF of all the slides we're covering today are there so you can follow along easily, whether you're on the phone or the computer. This is something you can save in your computer as well. I will be reading off the headers in each of the slides, the blue header, so those on the phone connections will know where we are as well. While people are doing that, I want to say this class is going to attempt to address as many people's needs as possible, from the complete newbies who have never been in before to the more experienced folks who just have a couple of questions. Some of the slides we will gloss over during the training, but are there for future reference to people who need the reminders at first. I will try to leave time at the end for questions as well. If you have a question during the course of the lesson, feel free to ask. That's not going to necessarily be the policy throughout all the training sessions, but I do want to make sure that you have answers you leave today. You're also welcome to call or email after the lesson anytime, and I'll be happy to assist you. My contact information is on the slides. Questions before we begin? Jeff, if you flip over to the first slide for me, if you will. Obviously, MyLion made easy. The thing you have to do, obviously, is to connect, and you can switch in to your MyLion account. If you do not, on the logging in, if you do not have a MyLion account, easy process to get one. Let me know if you have any problems. Next. MyLion, you have obviously different options. My LCI, which we are not going to be talking about today, but is for where you do your reporting of membership, etc. MyLion is mainly for the service projects, and that's what we're going to be targeting today, because we have so few people who are reporting. Next. We're going to start with reporting a past activity in the new format. They have both formats available to everybody. We're going to be focusing on the new format right now. The first thing you're going to do, and I do have the, you'll see on the slides, it's going to be in red circles or red arrows, things that you need to do. On this particular one, you're going to be clicking on the report past activity. Next. Now we're going to click on the orange report button over in the top right corner. Enable us to actually start reporting. Next. You will get a pop-up that looks like this, down there at the bottom. Hit continue and go on. Okay. Next. Name your project and choose the date by using the arrow buttons to choose the month, then clicking on the right day. You have to have, back up one slide there, Jeff. Right. Have the name of the project. I don't care what the name is, but it is a required field. If you see the circle in the top right block that says monthly recycling, you can see a little red asterisk inside that circle. Those are always going to be required fields. If you don't have those filled out on every time you see that, you will not have a successfully saved or submitted report. Okay, next. Every line red asterisks must be filled out, as we talked about. You can see all the different areas that are required. You can have a single day event. You can have a multiple day. You can't always have to have the start date, always have to have the activity type. You always have to have a cause, and you always have to have the project type. Those last two down there at the bottom are drop menus. Choose one. Activity type is also drop menu. Next. Estimate the number of people served. This is something that a lot of people struggle with you're out there cleaning up the road, how do you determine how many people you served? Guess. If you got 50 cars that went by, you just served 100 people, figuring 2 people per. You don't know the answers exactly. You don't need to have exact answers, but do not leave them blank. Same with the number of volunteers and the hours. Guesstimate what you have. Next. At least some must go into the description box. This is one of the areas that probably the most overlooked, and it is the one that will keep you from successfully reporting. Make sure you put in something in that block down there at the bottom on section 4. Next. If you did this right, if you put in that description and you clicked on that little button down there at the bottom that said report, this block saying successfully submitted. Click OK and go on. Next. Remember, no description, no submission. All you can do is save it. This is not reported. If you look there, it says nothing added. You'll see down at the bottom right, it says save. All you're doing basically is saving a draft. You are not reporting your activity at that point. Next. If all fields are in, including the description, you have the choice to report. You can save it if you're not done yet. It's usually easier to go ahead and report it. Please note, reported and submitted are the same thing. So click, if you have your description in, just click on the report. Next. I keep going back to this because you have to make sure to read what that block says. If it says successfully saved, that's fantastic. You're going back before it's done. You can check your post next. Yeah, okay, you can check your post to see if there are any problems by going to your home page and clicking on My Activities, which is up there on the right, second one from the right. Next. You'll see a blank screen, and I've had people call me saying all my activities are gone. No, they're not. You just simply have to find out where you're going. Next. You're going to be clicking on the button over on the left side that says, I can't even read what it says, the second one down. Click on the tab. Thank you. Click on the tab that says your club, and then suddenly all the activities will pop up. These are ones including what you've written in that anybody else from your club has submitted as well. Clicking on the past activities and your club name, all activities have been reported. This line should show up. If it's still empty, then you have some serious work to do. Unfortunately, we have a lot of clubs that fall into that boat, which is why we're doing this training today. Next. If you have more than one page of events entered, you can go to older posts by using the arrow buttons on the bottom right of the activity screen. If you have a red report now button, and I went back and found a bunch of those, I logged in with Stu Coble, our district administrator, found a lot of these where it says report now. The activity was put in, saved, but it wasn't reported. If you have one of these, it's easy enough to fix. Just click on that event and you can go back in and fix it. It's just a draft at that point. Next. In this example, it's the description. You're good. Simply by filling in this block with a few words, it gave not only the save option, but also the report option. Next. The report button after making your corrections. Next. When I go back now, that same activity is green, which means it's been submitted. It is worth your time to go back from time to time and glance through to make sure that all of your buttons are showing green. Now, while this is how you would report, that process right there is how you would report with the new version. But a lot of people have already either put in things in the version or are more comfortable with the older version. You have the choice right now. So if you want to use this, or if you want to fix old posts, you can go in to use the old version. The first thing you're going to be looking at is the report past activity, same as you would with the new version. Next, you're going to click on the report button up in the top right. After hitting past activity, click on report. Next, in the upper right, you'll see a small blue option, report the old way. Now this is at the start of the new process, but you still have the option of choosing that old. We're going to click on the report the old way. Next, choose your option by clicking once to continue. Next. Now you have the choice of what kind of activity it is. In the old version, it gave you the choices of the 5 initiatives of LCI, plus the other option that sort of encapsulates everything else your club might be doing. In this particular case, we're going to be talking about, so we're going to go to environment. So next, recycling and waste management. Each tab will give you different options on this next screen. Choose one that is the most accurate. If you're not sure, they always have an other option. Use next. The name of your project will default to a generic name. Okay, you can choose to rename it by typing over the highlighted text. I recommend that you do that. If you go back and look at some of the posts that are out there from some of the clubs, people have neglected to change this, and it has zero value in terms of understanding what the clubs were doing. Either the person who put it in didn't take the time to do this or didn't understand that they needed to do this. If you have done this in the past and you didn't change this, you can still go back and change it if you choose to. And I would recommend that you do just for accuracy's sake. But put in the activity name, again, you can see above the activity name on the right of it, it is an asterisk item. Next, you must identify the place or address. Type in the location or the name of the venue, and it should pop up below the block. Left click on what comes up, and it will populate your required field. And you can see down here at the bottom. You don't have to have a street address. You just need to have a location. So we have the activity name. I don't necessarily need to have the place name because that's not a required field, but the address or place is a required field. You can put in Columbus, Ohio. You can put in Sunbury, Ohio. You can put in the exact location if you want. For instance, Gary, if you were wanting to put in the reverse raffle, you would put in the name of the place that you're doing it and the place name, and then you give them the location in the second block down. And then it'll auto-populate, as you can see, the underlined part, it'll auto-populate if it picks up on that location. Okay, next. Be sure to fill in every block with an asterisk next to it. Again, I can't stress that enough. If you have a multiple day event, you can't choose to have the different dates in there. Otherwise, just have the same date and it'll be fine. Next. As with the simpler version, estimate if you need, don't leave the blanks if it's a required field. I have no idea how many people these Lions are serving by doing their monthly recycling. We're estimating they're helping 50 people. And I ask anyone to disagree with me. 2 are doing it. 5 volunteer hours collecting it, taking it down, etc. That's what we do each month. That's what we put in each month. Here's something out. And I want to also mention, too, that these two Lions are doing this not as a Lions project. They are doing it on their own. Remember, you can report activities that are not necessarily club functions. If a Lion is doing them, they count as Lions projects. Next. Review it and report it. Look for that, make sure that you have everything filled in, and then up in the top right corner, you see the orange button that says report. Next. If this pop-up comes up, you did it all right. Click on submit, and then it should be good to go. Next. You will come back to this screen. Remember the screen that we talked about? Next, you click on the past activities, click on your club, and that activity is coming in. Now, keep in mind also it's based, so you won't be looking at the top right corner necessarily if it was an event that you did prior to the last activity. It is arranged in date code, so you want to make sure that you look for that particular date. Next. In the new version, below the volunteer hours, there is a box marked additional metrics. You don't have to fill these out. These are good information to know if you're looking to let people know exactly what your project encompassed. Next, if you click yes in that block there, that where the bracket is, that those options suddenly open up and they just sort of appear on the screen. You can choose which of those to fill in and what to leave blank. Go ahead and click next. One more time, please. Oops, back up, sorry, my fault. Yeah. So if you wanted to report the total funds, you can. If you want to report the organization receiving the donation, you can. These are not required, but you can put them in if you would like to have a more complete report of what your club had done. Next. If your club has an activity or event that characterizes your club, you can designate that event as a signature event. I want to make sure you understand that the signature event does not necessarily have to be a massive event. It does not need to be something that is a all-firing event. It just needs to be something that sort of describes the character of your club. Something that your club does every year, something your club is proud of, something that you guys sort of associate yourself with. You can designate it either while reporting a past activity or when you're creating a future event for others to know about. A signature event is not a bad thing. It's not a required thing, but it is a nice thing to have in there. And as you can see, it's sort of highlighted in blue, and it sort of draws the attention to anybody who's looking. Next. It'll show up as a signature event either way. You can see where the yes is indicated there. If you choose to advertise upcoming events, you can do so by clicking on the Plan Future Activity. If you are reporting a past activity, there's 4 people in the club that can do this. That is the secretary, the president, the club administrator if you have one, and I highly recommend clubs get one, or the service chair if you've designated one. Those 4 people have the ability to go in and report past activities. Any club who is on MyLion can report future events. Major difference there. So activities is a select few. But it can go in. You can go back and edit these. You can go back and report these activities with the final results after the event is over. I do not recommend that anybody just go in and start reporting upcoming events for your clubs. I would keep the people who are reporting past activities as the people reporting future, just so you don't have people stumbling over themselves or more multiple things of the same project coming in. Try to have some sort of a system in place. Uh, Next, talking about there. Next, okay, choose type of your upcoming event. It's going to be under the plan future activity. Uh, you see the top right there. This is the tab that will then come up this screen here. So it's going to be service activity, fundraiser, meeting, and donations. Those are your four options that you have available for this. If you have anybody who anything else, is really not necessarily something that you need to report. In this case, we're going to be reporting a service activity that's going to be coming up. And then clicking on the continue button. Next. Choose the cause and continue. That's pretty easy. Next. Choose the project type and continue. In this particular case, we'll be focusing, we're focusing on our pediatric cancer walk. So it doesn't really have any other, it's an other category because they don't have 5Ks in the list there. Okay, next. If it is not a signature event, fill in the rest as the normal and continue. If it is, click on the drop menu option on the right of this block. If you already have this event listed, you can select it. If it's not, you can set one up here. So you have that option of creating the signature activity in this screen if it has not already been done. The only advantage of setting up a future event is that you are trying to entice people to come out and participate in your event. That's great, but not a whole heck of a lot of people actually go in and start looking around. It's up to you if you want to set one up. I usually don't. I usually just simply go in and report the event after the fact. But this is how you do it if you want to try to solicit new people. Next. If you are doing this, then fill in the fields that are required and click save. It will then become available. This is how you after you've filled in all the different blocks, the save button. Now you can use that signature event for future reference, for future activities. Next. Guessing that all required fields are filled in. Just look for the asterisks and click them. Next. You will then come to this screen. You can choose who you invite, and by the invite, it means that you are letting people know, anybody who is linked in to the MyLion or MyLion app, if they log into their MyLion, will then be able to see all the different upcoming events based on the invites that you sent out. In this particular event, we invited anybody from the Reynoldsburg Lions, anybody from the Canal Winchester Lions. Next. And then use all the various names based on those. So it'll pull up all the different various names that are available, and you can either invite everybody or you can select. When you're done, continue. Just hit the continue button and you're good to go. Next. Look over, and if you're happy with it, submit it. It'll tell you exactly what you got going on, if all the people you've invited. If you want to go back and edit it, you do have that option as well. Next. You'll get the pop-up button that says you are finished and your activity has been ready to go and your invites are sent out. Next. Your event will then show up on the screen as an upcoming event. That's easy enough. And that's to where you can then go back and you can change it to a past activity after the fact and report it. Next. To see how your serving your community, you can click on the metrics button. The metrics are right there in the window when you pop into MyLion. This is giving you an opportunity or an idea of what your club has actually done. This is also the stuff that's available to anybody who wants to go in. This is the part where it becomes important for clubs to be reporting, because anybody in the world can log into this. If they get a MyLion account, and you do not have to be a Lion, by the way, to have a MyLion account. If you are doing something every single month, your club is heavily engaged, and you have reported nothing in the MyLion, you have all zeros going across, your club, as far as they're concerned, is dead. You are a dead club, and no one wants to join a club that is dead. If you have a secretary or a club administrator who is putting in everything that's going on, wow, that's something to be looking at. This is a club that I can get involved with. At the time that I created this slideshow, our club had done about 15 service activities, and the number of people served just under 7,500. It's a fairly active club. You have the ability between now and July 1st to put in everything that your club has done, by the way, for this year, if you have not already done so. I would highly recommend that you do that. We'd love to have as many activities in the system as possible. So if you need help, let me know. Next, the metrics will tell you how your club is doing in a variety of parameters. It does not take anything except service projects into account, just so you know this. It does not take fundraisers into account. It does not take meetings into account, although those are fine to put in there because, again, they're available for people to see that your club is doing things. But in the actual metrics portion of it, only the service projects are in there. So if you do a fundraiser and is also a service project, list it as a service project. If you are making your donations out to various organizations, list them as a service project, because then it'll go up into your metrics. Don't list them as a donation, list them as a service project. And that's where you can go in back in. If you remember that screen that we talked about where you can add the additional metrics, you can put in the amount you donated. You can put in the number of people that you estimate that donation helped. You can have an hour in there for the secretary or the treasurer to write the checks, but make sure that you put that in as service projects. So if you look down the list here, it gives you all the various different, in blue, all the various different events that we were doing. And then it shows you how many people we impacted on all the variety of categories, the 5 initiatives and the other. Next, you can also see how your club stacks up against other clubs' work. Again, this is all public information. If it is there, your club doesn't do anything in the eyes of anyone who is interested in looking. Another advantage, you can see this is District 13 OH5. As a district, we had 71,366 people that we served as of the time of creating this. All the hours that we put in as an association are used to help raise funds and to create relationships with some of the big boys like the Gates Foundation, et cetera, to help us fight on a much more larger global scale. So the advantages are twofold. One, on the club level for you, where you are enticing people to come into your very active club, and the other part of it is on the global level, where LCI in general and LCIF are reaching out and getting partnerships because of the amount of people that we're helping. Next. Why are we so concerned? Why is this class even being taught? Because our district is very much underreporting. If you look again, this was written in March-ish, somewhere in there. There were districts that were up to 150,000 people served. We were sitting at 71,000. I know for sure that we have probably exceeded the number of people served above every other district. But the problem is we're not reporting them. Out of 3 clubs in our district, we only have about 20 reporting anything at all. That's a problem. Next. What have we not covered so far? We have not covered how to put pictures into posts and what you can do in the member area, the MyLCI shopping, etc. Those are questions that it would be nice to do at another time, or you can give me a call or whatever. Again, we're focusing on the service projects. In a minute, we're going to be going back in. Jeff is going to be bringing up the screen, live screen, so we're going to actually be putting in an activity together to make sure that it's put in and show you how that process is done live. Report, as we talked about, club secretaries, club presidents, club administrators, club service chairs. Next. Those things, okay, time. Next. Why are activities not reported? Nope, back up. Back up, there we go. Unfamiliarity with the new system. That is absolutely a realistic reason. Not knowing who to go to for help. Okay, fair enough. Constant change, which has created frustration, and this one I believe is a major one. And whoops, let me say that again, change. Lions hate change, especially those of you who have been a secretary for 10, 20, 30 years. Hey, you guys are now having to go through 3 different changes during the course of 1 year last year. You threw up your hands, forget about it, I'm not doing this. It's important that we're doing this. So I need your help in going back in and taking the time to learn how to, if you haven't already, so that we can get those activities reported. Next. Where can help? You're welcome to get a hold of me. I've got my phone number here. I've got my email in here. I do work for a living, so I would have to answer you in the evenings. If I'm in a meeting after hours, I'll be happy to get a hold of you back after the meeting. I call back. Other clubs who have figured it out are an option. LCI has several videos available. First Vice District Governor, soon to be Governor Rick Hauser out of OH6. That's his phone number, and he has given me permission to put it out there for people. He wants to make sure that you're reporting as well. This slideshow, which will be available to anybody who wants it, you're welcome to download it off of the district website. You're welcome to share it with anybody who you want to share it with. And then there's other guides floating around from all over the internet from various districts who are fed up with nobody reporting. Next. What are your good excuses now? You have none, because you now know how to do it. And at this time, I'm going to ask Jeff to bring up the live screen, if you would.
Yeah, well, I'm doing that. I want to, I don't know if this would be an amendment or a change to what you were saying. The how you mentioned that you feel that only those 4 people should be allowed to create a an activity. And our club has kind of changed that logic, because we like to have the chair of the project create an activity. And the reason why is on the mobile version, if somebody's ever searching for activities they'd like to be involved in, there's an opportunity for them to send a request to them to ask for more information about that particular project. And if that goes to the chair, that person knows more about the project than hopefully anybody else. So I'll amend, we say those 4 people and sometimes the chair, if that chair is willing to do it.
Well, that's fair enough. It comes down club to club. What's important, though, is that no matter what you do, that you get the projects in, especially reporting the past activities. But if you're going to be reporting the upcoming events, have a club policy in place, whether it's what Reynoldsburg does or whoever, have a policy in place so that you can you can do this. We bypassed, Jeff is now up on the screen. I'm gonna go ahead and have you go one more screen there, Jeff, and click on the MyLion, so we're up on that screen.
Did you want me to go back?
No, I want you to go straight on in. Go into MyLion. We're going to the MyLCI in a minute, but there is the screen that you're going to be looking at when you first click into MyLion of your club. In this particular case, Canal Winchester's metrics are written up there.
I'm glad they're not
And
zero.
they're not zero, which makes me very, very happy. And there's a lot of projects they've done. They've got some people served. So now, do you have a project that something you can put in today?
We can make up something and delete it.
We'll do that. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to be looking at how to report, and we're going to simply, for the purpose of training today, we're going to be focusing on how to use the new system because it's a little easier than the old system. So we're going to go into the past activities. Report past activity. And again, I'm trying to make sure that people know to do this. You can follow with your slides if you're not sure where we're at, if you're on the phone. Is there anybody on the phone on this link here? Or the
One person is.
Okay. So if you are following, go back up to your slide in the presentation after you've gotten into MyLion. I believe it's the fourth slide in where you clicked on the report past activity. That's the section that we're at right now. So after he clicks on the report past activity, he is going, you see that orange button up there at the top. If you could circle your mouse around that spot there so people can see it. That's where we're going to be going. Top right corner, he's going to click on that report button. Okay. As you can see, the areas that he does need to hit are actually in a different color. It should be pretty obvious. So go ahead and choose an activity. I want to make it sure it's a service activity, Jeff, of some sort. I don't care if it's made up. Okay, so he is going to save the world. That's the whales. So save the whales. There we go. Again, that's going to be something that's important that we focus on the fact that it is got a service project in there. It's going to be a single day that they saved all the whales. Start was yesterday. So it's a drop menu, as you can see. The activity type is also a drop menu. It'll be a service activity. Now, Drew, bring that drop menu back up again, if you would. You have the four options. If it is very clearly a meeting, I want to mention, you don't need to put in every single meeting that your club does. That bogs down the whole process of what you're trying to accomplish, which is bringing out the highlights of your club. Focus on the bigger meetings like the officer installations or new member inductions or something where it's a little bit more of a special meeting, or it was a club get together, a cookout, whatever. But don't do every single meeting that your club does twice a month or 4 times a month or whatever it is. It kills what you're trying to accomplish there. The donations, absolutely you can put them in, but anytime you can put them in as a service activity, please do that. Okay, go ahead. Service, yeah. Is it a signature activity? No, it's not. We're not going to click on anything there. Was it funded by an LCIF grant? That's going to be pretty rare if you have to click on that. Leave it alone. We're going to be going down to cause, and we're going to be choosing environment probably on this one. I don't know. Maybe it's other. Sometimes there is no clear-cut answer. Choose the best guess. Project type. It'll be other environment service activity. They have no whale saving in that. The number of
that. They really should.
The number of people served is a required field, even though it's not a drop menu, obviously. The total volunteers, however many you put in there. The total number of volunteer hours. When you're figuring the volunteer hours figure the number of volunteers times the number of hours they work. So if all 60 of these people worked 5 hours, then it'll be 300 hours. Plus a couple of those people worked a few extra hours coordinating things or pulling supplies together. It's the total number of hours for the total number of people who worked. In this particular thing, it says total volunteers. It does not say total lions. So if you had spouses or you had your kids out there, you had friends out there, include those as your volunteers because they were part of the solution. They were part of the project. Well, okay, the next line is your picture is blocking what I'm seeing. There we go. Addition of metrics. Go back up to that one and click on that one, please. On the additional metrics, okay? So when he put in the yes, suddenly those additional metrics showed up. It's just a click of the button there, and then he can put in any of these things there. That would make some of those fundraisers or some of those donations a little bit more legit because you can see how you are actually doing this. You don't have to fill in anything in there that you don't want to fill in. You're a pretty generous guy. And the total number of funds raised, okay. You have the option of deciding who you want to share this event with. If you hit click on the drop menu, please. Most of the time it's going to be everyone. There may be things that you're doing that you only want either your district or even just your club to know about. That's up to you. It defaults to everyone. There's no reason why everyone can't see what your club is doing. So I wouldn't even bother with that. I just wanted to point it out. The description, again, I'm going to come back to this. The description doesn't have to be lengthy. It can be a sentence. It can be 20 sentences. It was whatever you want. But you have to put in something or you will not be able to submit. Once you're done with that, then you go ahead and you click. If you and I'll stop for 1 second there. If you're wanting to put in a picture, and even though we are not going to have a slide on it, you can see on the screen there on the overall. If you click in there, you can then select an image from your computer or wherever it happens to be. And you can choose to have a picture. You can have several pictures up. One will be your signature picture. You can crop it down in this feature. It's actually kind of a interesting, made easy. You can see that Jeff is resizing the picture or cropping it down to the type of picture he wants. Put a couple pictures in if you have them of your event. It just makes it more interesting. The pictures, they will offer default pictures in the system. But if you have a picture that's personalized that you can show people actually doing things, it's much more interesting. And it makes it much more personalized for your club. Okay, once you're done with that, then you hit the report button. We don't necessarily need to do that right now. Actually, you can delete the project. So go ahead and hit the report button.
I'm gonna get a weird call from LCI now, aren't I?
You are definitely going to be. So you can see that it said successfully submitted. If he goes back now into the past activities or all activities, go ahead and go back into that screen. There we go.
Now, I've seen this sometimes take several minutes before it updates.
Yes, you do have to be patient. The system can sometimes. I've actually I've actually gone through. And, it's taken overnight before updates or things like that have gone through. So be patient. The system is trying to monitor the world, and I don't think they put in a big enough system to do that. I can see a couple of meetings in here where the membership meeting and the vision and diabetes screenings, this is a perfect opportunity for just to look at. are showing says report now. Those are either upcoming event. Looks like those are past events that either we would want to go back in and report that they were finished, they report on the results, or delete them out because they didn't happen. Those would most likely been upcoming events. We don't want to have the red showing. We want all greens. That shows also that you are keeping up with it, and that's a much better thing as well. Okay. Last thing I want to cover before we go to questions, and it's going to be a quickie, is go back in, Jeff, to your menu list of the MyLCI, where you can get into MyLCI. I want actually, yeah, I want to keep you logged in there. Okay. People have questions. Go back into MyLion one more time because I want to point out where they go back to this.
Oh, okay.
Okay. People get really confused. Okay, we got logged in. We were in MyLion, but I really want to report this member also. But now I have to log completely back out again. That's a pain. No, you don't. In the top left corner of your MyLion screen, where it says MyLion, it gives you the option, if you click on that, of going to one of the other areas. So, which is not where we're going to go. You can go back to your home screen, which gives you those various options that you were originally at.
Wanted to go. Sorry.
Or that, yeah. Or you can go directly to one of the other options available, MyLCI, Shopping Insights, etc. Into MyLCI real quickly. This is the old familiar screen that everybody knows. This is where you report your membership. You report anything that's changing in meeting locations, etc. Here too, you have that option of going straight back into the home Lions account. Top left corner again. This time it says return to your Lions account. If you click on that, you do not have to exit completely out of the system. It'll kick you back to here. Now, I'm going to open it up for any questions that anybody has. I have a few minutes left. Is there anybody that has any questions about anything that we've covered? I will also say, for those people who showed up late, glad you showed up. If you did not get the chance of downloading this PDF version of all the slides, it is up. Could you post that the screen one more time, Jeff, of the that one? Go into the district13oh5.org, go to the Learn to Roar 2020 screen, and where it says MyLion Made Easy, click on the class handout, and that will give you the PDF of all the slides that we covered today in the same order. Feel free to download that, save it into your computer, and that way you have a reference tool to work from. It also, in the bottom there of one of the last slides, it has my contact information in there. And again, feel free to contact me if you have questions, not only about the MyLion, but if you have questions about the MyLCI, I'm happy to help you as much as I possibly can. The important thing is that you do report, that you do take the time. It does make a difference. Again, are there any questions that anybody has that they would like to ask at this time, or if we've covered? If I don't get any questions, I'm assuming that everybody is still asleep, didn't get their coffee, or I actually did manage to answer questions.
And if you can't get your mic to work, feel free to type in the chat. I'm watching the chat as well.
We'd be happy to answer anything you might have. Just so you know as well, while we're waiting for people, we are going to be posting the trainings on YouTube, and we will be giving out those links. So if there are other classes today that you wanted to see and didn't have a chance to make it to, or if you wanted to go back and review this class, we will have those options available, and we will make sure that you know how to get in there and find them.
Mike, can I ask a question, please?
Absolutely.
Does the club administrator have to be submitted in MyLCI prior to June 30th when we update like new officers?
No. It's
Yeah,
a good
somebody
idea.
late.
It's a good idea too, but your administrator, like any other officer, can be added after the fact if they need to be. If you have somebody right now, but in August you come up with somebody who wants to be the club administrator, you can go ahead and add them then.
You hit on this, and I think it's very important that especially the larger clubs that are involved in a lot of things, it's great to have a club administrator, because what happens if the secretary can't do it for one reason or another? It's great to have a backup.
Well, the other thing too, Stu, that is important to remember is a lot of secretaries, for whatever reason, are not necessarily in the younger generation.
Right.
Hey.
I know, Jeff. Like I said, no, a lot of secretaries are wonderful, but they are not necessarily as computer savvy. If there's somebody in the club that is a little bit more computer savvy, they can enter in the activities and save the secretary the hassle. At the same time, they don't have to necessarily do the other jobs that the secretary has to do. So having a club administrator is a very, very helpful tool. Any other questions? Well, I appreciate everybody showing up this morning, and I appreciate you participating in the Learn to Roar, and in particular in the MyLion Made Easy. It has been great seeing some familiar